Afternoon. How are we all doing? Very boring morning. Oh my God, look at oil. Sorry, oil's just dropping again. Yeah, rubbish. Boring morning. Pretty good from the Australian dollar point of view, but everything else, meh. Very, 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 very sideways. So for those of you that weren't here this morning on the DAX, it was an absolute chop fest. So yeah, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Basically, we've moved a whole grand total of 2R to the upside. We didn't even get 1R to the downside. So yeah, not easy this morning. Managed to squeeze $200 out of it, but it was very close to a 2.5% loss this morning. It's just shocking. No movement anywhere. US indices very, very quiet as well, as you can see. So that's yesterday's entire range. That so far is today's Globex session. We're within inside yesterday's tiny range. So market's just stopped, basically. We've had a little bit of volatility coming through in the last sort of half an hour, but yeah, everything's really weird at the moment. Really, really, really weird volatility. Just totally quiet. So there's no news today. There was no news yesterday. There's no news today. We've had the Australian dollar interest rate rise yesterday, or this morning, overnight. We've got Wallace speaking at 3 o'clock, but again, no more news today. And then we've got talking heads tomorrow. So literally no news. This is why the market's not moving. It's just no news. Nothing to move it. This morning's news, nothing. We've had NATO and the US suspending involvement in the landmark Cold War arms treaty with Russia. So they've basically pulled out of the end of the Cold War. Not doing that anymore. So back into a new Cold War. Okay. Somebody's just posted a chart in Telegram. Prime example of, you know, all those memes you see where people put too many indicators on their chart. I'm not sure if this person's actually spamming the Telegram group and joking, or whether they're serious and they think that that's actually a strategy. Okay. Yeah. Banhammer. Bye-bye. No idea what that was, but yeah. The only reason I block stuff like that is because new people will go, woo, and they'll contact that person and ask them about their strategy and take about 10 years, add about 10 years onto their trading education. So no news this morning. Just trade balances, rubbish. Afternoon, everybody. Gregors, Fletch, Crom, Monkey, Peter, Julio, David, XRUpdate.news, John, Evans, Oliver, Virginia, Dion, John, another John, many Johns. How are we all doing? So yeah, we'll see what happens this afternoon, but very, 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 very tough trading conditions at the moment. So I've banked quite a bit this morning, banked 3% off loads of stuff. I put it in the Telegram group, everything I've banked, but basically just banked tons of Aussie and New Zealand trades mainly. Also got out the pound Swiss, but everything else is pretty much Aussie dollar based, apart from the pound US and the US CAD. So that's a total lie. There's lots of stuff I've got out of, basically. So go look at the Telegram group if you want to see, but banked a load of positions. That's what I've got left on at the moment. Aussie dollar CAD is now in profit. Not massive at the moment. I'm going to try and hold this one. I want to hold some Aussie if I can, but we're at 125 ADR and we're coming into an accumulation, so it's not great. Aussie dollar Swiss, I've got some profit on. Aussie New Zealand, I've got some profit on, although I've already banked some of that already. The main problem I've got is oil. So if you weren't here for the live room this morning, my plan today for oil is to get an aggressive drawdown control position on, which I've just triggered. in the last couple of hours. So that is now brought my average to 175 ADR. The line in the sand on oil is here. So it's these lows here. So if this zone here doesn't hold today, which is ADR to ADR 110 roughly, I shall be getting out and taking a loss on oil. And I'm closing out. Obviously, the aggressive drawdown control position will get closed out. I just want to see actually what profit that's going to be. It's going to cost me 1.5%. So I'm putting that at 125 ADR. So that's going to cost me 1.5%, and I'll be in 5 or 6% of drawdown on those. So I'll close another 3 or 4 out. So it's going to cost me roughly 5%, which is going to destroy my month. So I'm not trading oil anymore. Not position trading anyway. Anything I do with oil will have a stop loss involved because it's just not playing by the rules at the moment. There's absolutely no reason for this drop. We've got bloody war on. Oil goes up in wars, not down. So something's not right. There's something brewing that some market participants are aware of that I'm not. Or rather, we aren't as retail. Or general banking. You know, there's no reason for this to go down. It should be going up. Everything, supply and demand is all pointing upwards. Forecasts are all up. War, up. Everything up. It's coming down. So it's wrong. So I'm getting out because this thing's got the potential to go very, very, very far down. So I'll be taking a loss on that one, unfortunately. Right. That's this morning's recap done. ADRs are all Australian dollar based. You've missed them all. I think pretty much. Not all of them, actually. That's not true. Oh, no, sorry, you haven't missed them all because a lot of these are still holding down. So Aussie dollar CAD is an ADR hit to the downside. Aussie dollar Swiss as well is a hit to the downside. That's still dropping. Got a buy on that. Aussie dollar yen dropping. Still down there, had a reversal on that one. So there's lots of these Aussies, which basically are RSI extensions and ADR hits. But this is Australian dollar moving off the back of the interest rate rise. So these could continue these moves. So you can take them as ADR reversals. Anything that's got an RSI extension as well as an ADR extension today, I would say is probably the better ones to take because these are already extended on the hourly as well. So you're more likely to get a bit of a ping back when they profit take the moves. But there's a few of those. We'll go through those in a minute. US is open. Long on the Dow straight away. That closed actually very much at the highs there. So straight into a long on the Dow. Straight into a long on the NASDAQ. Move that down there. A lot of volume coming in this morning. This afternoon, rather. See if we get one on the S&P as well. So, along these two, market is rallying up at the moment. We've had some positive stock earnings out this afternoon, or rather this morning as well. So there's a few I saw flying past. UBS is up, banking. There's a couple others as well. Uber's a miss. Watches of Switzerland up 9.7%. Blimey. Wow, that's a big move. Nintendo hikes profit forecasts. So there's a few stock earnings up. So we might get a bit of a rally at the open. We'll see where we go. But at the moment, momentum not doing too bad. But now, obviously, because the market's open, just decided to drop. Typical. Afternoon, Themba. Afternoon. It's time, I guess. Amy. Afternoon. JC. Peter. I'm testing H4 M15. There is a risk. There is risk 0.25% per entry in the set file. Yeah. Okay. I thought we were supposed to drop on trading all indices. Huh? H4M15 doesn't trade on indices. It's FX. Don't trade stock market. Don't position trade the stock market. Afternoon, Kennelly. Afternoon, Damo. A lot of volume coming in this afternoon. Sorry, I meant FX. Yeah. So yeah, it's 1/4% risk over half an ADR if you're using, as I teach in the bootcamp. If you want to trade all indices, you should drop the risk basically. Not indices. If you want to trade every FX pair, drop the risk, obviously, because you're going to overexpose yourself otherwise. Depends if you're going to follow exposure rules or not. If you follow the bootcamp as per the bootcamp, then you will be getting in with 1/4% risk. If you're going to get in for every FX pair, you can take more. You need to take less risk. So just reduce it down. Okay, so we're rejecting the highs on the NASDAQ. So it looks like I'm going to get hedged on the NASDAQ. The S&P pushing down. Might get a short entry on the S&P. So if I'm long there and short there, one of those is going to hedge. Dow at the moment holding out that propulsion move. So we had a little bit of an accumulation break there, which they seem to be adding into at the moment. But obviously this is all pre-market volume. So the volume at the open is totally different. You've got completely different market participants entering. So hedging on the NASDAQ, nearly, not quite. Whippy old open, isn't it? Big moves today. Okay, Dow's pushing back. So more buyers entering on the Dow. Not so much on these two at the moment. Okay, hedged on the NASDAQ, short on the S&P, long on the Dow. That's a complete shite show. That's going to be a mess today. So I'll come back to that later because nothing's going to break clean there by the looks of things. Right. Aussie US 150 ADR. So Australian dollar still dropping. US dollar rallying a little bit at the open as well. So we got the US dollar rallying. Everything's coming down against the US. So the index is probably going to drop today if the US is going to rally. But we'll see what happens. Certainly looks like the NASDAQ and the S&P are looking like they want to drop. The Dow's holding up those. So we'll look at those in a minute. Right, let's do these ADRs. That market's just whipsaw today. So it's going to be hedges across the board by the looks of things. We'll have to look at that in a minute. Aussie CAD. Good push down, obviously, on the news. So this morning's news was interest rate rise. Typically, that's bullish, but what we got today was an Aussie drop. So moves opposite to what you would normally expect from an interest rate rise, which should usually be bullish for the currency. So potentially, this is just going to be kind of a knee-jerk reaction. And we may well get some bullish moves coming back off of this. But at the moment, so far after the initial news, London's held it completely straight. So just watching this to see if we get any further drops on these. Obviously, you're getting extended on RSI on these Aussies as well as obviously getting these ADR extensions. So they're all valid longs basically, but the best ones to take are the ones which are getting nicely extended on the RSIs as well. So if you compare the ADR dash with the RSI dash and the ones that are extended on RSI, they're probably the better ones to get into. So Aussie dollar CAD, that one's nicely extended, coming back down into this potential sort of support area here. That propulsion gap, but we've got obviously all these gaps to the downside at the moment. We're causing upside gaps as well, so literally could go either way. It's very difficult to say whether or not this is going to be a drop, which is going to be sustained on the Aussie dollar, because it should really be going bullish off the back of that news, but doesn't seem to be. So They are reversals, potentially for sort of scalps. ADR reversals are scalps. So you've had a reversal alert in here, probably a couple of reversal alerts in here since we hit ADR this morning, but it's just totally stuck sideways. So long, you'd be looking for it to push back up into that propulsion gap. If they are going to add into the position, that's where they're going to do it from. So you can take a long up into there. Aussie dollar Swiss extended as well. So again, that one's extended on the hourly. I've got a long on that. I'm also short on it. Difficult to know what to do with that, to be honest. Thinking what I might do. I'm in a bit of a mess with these Aussies. I'm hedged, and I really don't know which way this Aussie dollar is going to go. So I'm quite tempted at the moment to just reduce risk on the Aussie. So I think what I might do, because I've got the Aussie Swiss hedged and I've got Aussie CAD in profit, I might shut those two out and just go flat on those and keep the Aussie New Zealand and the Euro odd and Euro New Zealand and the Aussie US. Difficult to know what to do with those, really. A bit of a mess with that. Do I want to go long? Oh, I'm thinking very hard, as you can probably tell. What's the loss on that Aussie Swiss second position? 385. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take off that short on the Aussie Swiss because that's profit. I'm going to reduce that by 50%, that sell. That basically still banks some profit, but it keeps my sell average not too far away. And I'll look for this to push up and get out of that long there and add another short there, which will bring the average back up again. I think potentially we've got a further move to the downside, but we're extended to 150 ADR pretty much on this. So it's probably going to want to do a little bit of a pullback before it starts a new leg down. And as I've got a long on there, that TP on the long at that propulsion gap makes sense to me. So I'm going to do that on that one. Aussie CAD. Not really a lot of profit, is it? I'm just conscious of this oil trade at the moment. I'm going to leave that one on. So there you go. Sorry, thinking out loud. Aussie Swiss, nicely extended. I've got the long on that already. So I've just got out of some of that short basically. And I'm just reducing risk on that short in case this thing pops. And we are just doing a shallow pullback on a new leg up. That Australian dollar interest rate rise is bullish. The fact that we've had such a big drop, I suspect might be partly just profit taking on that leg or on that leg. In which case that 38 retracement is it. We could bounce from here, which means I'm going to have to hold these shorts for a while. So I'm just kind of preparing myself for that, basically. Aussie dollar yen extended to the downside on the RSI, and that's a 125 ADR hit. We've had the reversal alert on that this morning, which has just gone in there. You also had a reversal alert there as well out of ADR. So that was your first entry, and then we invalidated that one, and second one's just gone in there. So potentially good-looking long opportunity. I'm much more interested in shorting against the yen. I wouldn't personally want to take anything long against the yen at the moment, just in case that US dollar rallies, in which case obviously everything's coming down. So be careful with any yens. Aussie New Zealand, I've got shorts on this one at the moment. That's not quite getting extended yet. We're extended on ADR. I think we've got further to come down on this one. But Aussie New Zealand is a very difficult pair to trade just because they move in tandem. So when you get a bullish move on the Aussie, you get a bullish move on the New Zealand, and a bullish move against a bullish move tends to cancel itself out. So we don't get a lot of movement on the Aussie New Zealand, as you can see here. I think it's probably got a little bit more downside available on it. So I'm just holding that at the moment. But it is an ADR reversal, so you could look at longing it up into that propulsion gap. So you've got a high, low, lower high, lower low. Looking for a lower high pullback and continue down to the south. So either way you can take it. These indices are all over the place today. This market at the moment is just bizarre. Of last few days, it's just been, the opens have just been weird. Just weird. That's the only way I can explain it. It's been like pulling teeth, especially on the DAX. Just an awful lot of volume coming in, but really, really confused about direction. The market is putting a lot of volume through, but not moving anywhere. It just feels like something weird is brewing. I don't know. It's difficult to explain. Aussie US, big push to the downside. So got out of that one short, entered long this morning. So got out the shorts today. Have a long position on, which I need to put a TP on. That's not a lot, is it? I'll go sort of somewhere up there. It's difficult to call a long on this. It's either going to bounce from here or we're going to come down into this area. I suspect down into that propulsion gap. So I'll put a second position on there, averaging for a leg up into there. But for the moment, what I'm going to do is assume that we're going to pull back and rally, in which case then I'm just going to target below where we got the reversal alert, which is that accumulation. So about third of an ADR, third of a percent profit, something like that. Euro odd is extended as well. Big push to the upside, got out of the long on that one, flipped short because we got an RSI extension. Just about got a short entry on that one this morning. 5-minute reversal alert, H1 RSI. So out there, flip short. Target is going to be down on the top of that, going from the middle of that propulsion gap. So just looking to get out somewhere in that area there. Pound odd. That's extended on ADR, but not extended on RSI. Nice double top potential coming up with the previous week's high. And then you've got that other high coming up there out of that propulsion gap. So you've got lovely resistance areas coming up on this like that. So plenty of reason to short that one. It's not quite extended enough for me to get in on an H1M5, but looking to target that propulsion there. The downside, so similar sort of move to that. So that's a good looking short opportunity. Nicely extended 125 ADR, almost 150 on that one. New Zealand dollar Swiss, that one's extended to the downside, just got out of the shorts. Not extended on RSI, but it is an ADR hit straight off of ADR, not great. And US dollar CAD. So that's nicely extended to the upside in a propulsion gap. So depending on whether or not we are long or short on the US dollar, we're either going to drop there or it's just going to sort of pull back and try and rally further up. So it depends what's happening with the US dollar. We've got no news really. Unemployment claims on Thursday might do something. Other than that, we've got University of Michigan. It's just no news this week. So it's just going to be very, very difficult to get any decent movement off the US this week. Right. So S&P, we're back inside the initial opening range. Same with the NASDAQ. The Dow hasn't actually left yet. So it literally just spiked me into a long and hasn't gone anywhere. Looks like it wants to go short to me today. A lot of volume, a lot of volatility. This is moving up and down a lot, but no direction is there. Same as yesterday. It's just going to be a lot harder to get out of these today because I'm not only hedged on that, I've got a hedge on that as well. I'm going long on that and short on that. They're not going to go the opposite directions, are they? They're going to go one way or the other. So it looks like two of these are going to hedge and one of them is going to give us a clean break, potentially. So it could be quite a tricky afternoon this afternoon. We'll see where we go. Give it a bit more time. RSIs. So pretty much the same as the ADRs. So Aussie CAD. So all those Aussies basically. Euro odd, pound odd, New Zealand, and the US dollar CAD were the ADRs. So we've already looked at Aussie US, we've looked at Aussie Swiss and Aussie CAD. Euro odd we've looked at. Pound odd we've looked at. US dollar yen is the only RSI extension that's different. So that one's just getting extended above the 70 level. So potentially good looking short opportunity. This at the moment though is just the market structure on this, and the price action on this is just, again, weird. There's a lot of weirdness in the market at the moment. So after that intervention move, we basically went nowhere for over a week. We moved up a little bit. They tried a second hit. So went sideways for another week. Sideways for another week. Tried to rally. A little intervention went in, scared the market into a short. And then we had that massive rally, massive retracement. So where are we going now? That way or back out the highs? So market structure on this could just be a pullback long. Could be price discovery to the upside, failing, pullback short. Impossible to predict this market at the moment because there's no bias fundamentally for a long or a short on the US dollar, and the Japanese keep saying, if you don't stop pushing us, we're going to do that. So I can't do anything but sell everything against the yen at the moment, but it's just, as you can see, not going. This is when I tried to get into that intervention move, and literally since then, which was the 2nd of October, gone sideways. So not really particularly interested in anything yen at the moment. I've got the EA turned off on all yen pairs personally, but I mean, if you'd have taken that long, you had a lovely profit. If you'd have taken that short, you had a lovely profit. Taken that short, you had a lovely profit. So signals are playing out absolutely fine and as normal. I'm wary of going long, and the shorts I've tried haven't worked out in any time scale that is profitable because of the amount of swap I have to pay. So not a great short, that one. But there we go. So there's all the RSIs and all the ADRs. Very, very similar to this morning. So nothing much has changed since this morning's live room. I thought some of these had played out, but they haven't. They are still dropping a little bit, these Aussies. So very difficult to tell what's going to happen with these Aussies. As I say, it's the fundamentals are not really pointing to us going short, but it is. So go with the momentum at the moment. Unlike the US indices. Going nowhere. It's going to be one of those days today. I can see it. I can feel it. It's going to be a pain in the backside day, and I'm going to have to sit here and trade these all afternoon. But we're not moving at the moment. So Dow's holding up nicely. So that propulsion gap's holding well. So there is upside pressure on the Dow, which means I'm going to hedge on the S&P, which means that's going to get hedged and that's going to get hedged, which means that has got to go enough to pay for these two hedges today just to get me a break even. In fact, it won't even be a break even. It'll be a small loss. So it's going to be a tough afternoon, I think. So let's have a quick look at where we're going with these potentially upside and downside, because you can't really tell which way it's going at the minute. So DAX this morning, upside and downside potential on the DAX we looked at was basically upside gap fill, which we got. And obviously since then, we've gone absolutely nowhere. So we've had this big push up, which we kind of are due a bit of a profit take. So we've got a gap fill to the downside on the DAX to fill there. We've got a gap fill to the downside on the DAX to fill there. So there's two downward gaps to fill. And we are potentially looking for some kind of pullback if we are going to go long on the markets. So DAX is all pointing south at the moment. Dow upside, obviously we've got this big rally as well at the moment on the Dow. Last week's high is your obvious upside target today, which isn't far at all when you look at ADR and how far we've got to potentially go. Let's just get some of these lines off. once you get that high, there's still like 3/4 of an ADR up for the Dow. So there's plenty of upside. If we do break this high though, next stop is that previous month. And then we've got this kind of area here, which is previous resistance, or rather support there. So this area we tapped into, we kept tapping into, we finally broke it, retested it, and then slammed through it. We haven't been back since. So that's 150 ADR, bang in the middle of that propulsion gap. So upside target, if we break that high today, you got loads of room all the way up to 150 ADR. So it's going to need some momentum to get there, though, isn't it? It just doesn't seem to have it at the moment. Downside, if we aren't going to break long, I mean, the only thing you could look at really is the previous day's low. We've tapped into yesterday's low, tested that, and already bounced off of it. So if we retest that level and break that level, we're coming down into this accumulation, which is still way within ADR. If we break that low, there's nothing to stop you until you get down to this area here. Yeah, so we've got clear air all the way down to 175 ADR. So again, loads of downside. So we've got loads of upside on the Dow, loads of downside as well. S&P, obviously upside is pretty much where we are at the moment. So if you don't bang your head on that, you're going to hit there, which is just under ADR. So previous month's high, that's 3 weeks ago high. Yeah, 3 weeks ago high, and the previous month's high is just under ADR to the upside. Downside, it's the same story, coming down into that low. If we break that low, you're coming all the way down. I mean, there's not really anywhere obvious to the downside, but way beyond ADR. There's so much downside room. Just feels like it should do a pullback because we've had such a big rally. But NASDAQ, we're very much the same. We're up at that weekly high, which we've just bounced off. And then we've got a monthly, which is ADR to the upside. Downside, exactly the same. Previous day's low, and then a complete collapse all the way down, way beyond 225 ADR. So there's tons of room in both directions to ADR today, but we're tapping into this high, which is holding on the NASDAQ at the moment. Yeah, so that previous weekly high, we've just limit orders have triggered and they've sold that off hard. We're tapping into that again. If they can't get through it a second time, I suspect we will give up and just drop. But so far, zero direction. NASDAQ's trying the highs now. Yeah. So, yeah, how's everybody doing? Anybody got any money today? If you weren't trading the Aussie dollar, short, pretty difficult to make money today, isn't it? DAX certainly wasn't playing ball this morning. Okay, so we just tested the highs on the NASDAQ. Uh, 25 minutes in on the Dow. Still haven't got outside the initial opening range, look. So we've tested the lows, tested the lows, tested the lows. We know there's an iceberg sitting there going long, but whoever is pushing long, they're meeting a hell of a brick wall at the moment. So NASDAQ's out the high. So just watching this area on the Dow, on the S&P rather. So we're at the highs on the NAS. Dow's just not able to get any movement. There we go. Nice pop on the NASDAQ there. So NASDAQ's broken the upside. So hedge target on the... I can't really see it on there. Right? No. So on the NAS... upside target is going to be just shy of ADR today. So just going to move target down. That previous month's high. That's tricky. I'm just going to move it down just under 3R. So just underneath that monthly high. So see if we can get some reaction at that monthly high to the upside. Downside target, virtually impossible today. Pretty much where it is at 5R. That area is potentially going to act as support this propulsion gap. So if we get down to there, we're hitting ADR, we're hitting a propulsion gap which started that leg on Friday. So that's a pretty good target to the downside if it breaks down. There's your targets on the NAS. Well, that's what I'm going for anyway. S&P and the Dow, long and short. Tough, isn't it? Dow's just rejecting the highs again. So pre-market high, basically. There's your gap fill done. Tough. Nothing going anywhere yet, is it? Let's have a quick listen to Tick Strike. See if we can get any idea where the buyers and sellers are today. Buyers at the moment, by the sounds of things. Okay, here we go. So hedged on the S&P, hedged on the NASDAQ. Dow's out the highs. So S&P today, targets on that monthly high is just shy of ADR today. So on the S&P, going to move my targets down again, just under that monthly high. And we'll look to take profit there, assuming that we're basically going to get some limit orders triggering at the monthly high. So take those off and then look to try and get out the shorts at the highs. Dow, obviously, we're just running for a 2R target. So the Dow's got to get out that monthly high as well. Look, it's going to be tough today because this is going to hit resistance before the S&P and the NASDAQ get to their targets. So I'm not going to get to TP on that, which is going to make it quite tricky to get a break-even position today, because I've got to get 2.3% out of that, and target on that is going to be 2.5. But if I target the actual high, I'll be able to get 1.2. So that's going to put me in a loss for the day. So I'm going to leave target up there for the moment at 2R. And just watch price action on the Dow, because the Dow's going to hit this resistance first. So we'll see if we find sellers at that level. If we do, we're probably going to find these guys start to meander a little bit. So I'll have a look at the P&L when we get there and see what we're doing. Has anybody got any other pairs they want to have a look at or anything else? Just quickly look at what oil's up to. Okay, so oil is down in the target area now, down in this zone. So looking for basically a buy out of this area. See if we can get a move back up and retest this sort of accumulation we broke out of to see whether or not this is just a price discovery move and we're just going to fail and drive back up, which is kind of what I'm hoping is going to happen. So looking for some kind of buyers down in this area here at the minute. Oh my God. Here come the sellers. Aussie New Zealand 125 ADR. Still pushing. So still a lot of weakness in this Australian dollar. This looks like some New Zealand dollar strength coming in because the rest of the Aussies don't seem to be moving quite as much. So some strength coming through in the New Zealand dollar. Moment, driving this one down. Aussie New Zealand, yeah, that's one I just looked at. Going well. That's about all that is today. Pound US dollar, look at that. So just got out the shorts on the pound US from that RSI extension last week. Out there, we're into propulsion at the moment and retesting this high. So you can see we're holding this high at the moment. Limit orders are triggering at this high. So we could well be looking at a breakout here. This wasn't much of a range. So we had that high, we had a low, a high, we put in a higher low and then a lower high. So forming a symmetrical triangle. Which kind of broke to the downside and sat there for a week and did absolutely nothing. And then obviously the news on Friday with non-farm payroll and the unemployment for the US dropping, obviously that rallied this. So we've had lots and lots of negative news for the US last week, which has obviously driven everything up against the US dollar. So this week we've got very little news for the US. So there's no reason to continue that weakness on the US at the moment until we get new figures. So but there's also no reason for the US to become bullish and undo those figures. So it's more likely we're going to get a new leg up on this, I think. So buying out of this propulsion gap seems a pretty decent long opportunity, but it's not extended enough for me to get into this at the moment. So if you got an ADR hit to the downside on it, that'd be a good level to go long. So assuming that market structure reversal there is the start of an up leg, that's kind of the move. We've still got a long way to go to undo this move that we had coming in. There's quite a lot of sell orders coming in at the moment, as you can hear. The Dow holding up very well under that pressure. That was the S&P that was selling. So potentially that is just them getting out of some of these longs. Obviously adding back in for a new leg here. Big order. So yeah, pound US dollar, probably longs at the minute, but if you're going to get into it, I mean, personally, I want the RSI to be extended. I want a big, strong move that they're likely to profit take on. But as you can see, the whole month there, we've gone nowhere, and all we've done is popped our head up out the highs and not gone anywhere. So with price discovery moves, when you come out of a range, you either get a price discovery which works and you start a new leg, or you get a price discovery which fails and you move back into that range, and then you typically will try the opposite direction. So difficult to tell off the back of that news event whether or not we're going to get a continuation short on the US. Sustained selling coming in on the S&P. So new low gone in. We are back in the range on the NASDAQ as well. So Dow's holding up well on the back of that move. So we had a lot of selling coming in there, but not really batted an eyelid, the Dow. So a little bit of divergence coming in, which is good. I think you'd be lucky to get out of today with a profit, but we'll see. So S&P and NASDAQ looking for this area to hold. So I want to see some more buyers, or hear some more buyers coming in this area. That will drive the Dow higher. It's not really any movement on the US dollar at the open. Not really any clues as to long or short on that. Looks like it's a bit weak, the US, which would indicate obviously index rise, but see. Squeezed a few dollars of profit. Things seem to be very stalemate. They are at the minute, yeah. We haven't really got going yet. Not getting any really nice breaks at the moment. There's just, I think we've been a little bit spoilt with earnings fortnight. We've had a lot of decent moves on earnings fortnight, and it's all going a bit quiet now. But a lot of uncertainty at the moment with what's going on still with the Middle East as well, which should be pushing oil up, but that ain't happening. There's a lot of stuff not happening at the moment, like the DAX. DAX, if you look at the DAX over the last 2 days and then compare it to the last load of price movement we've had, it's just, we get tiny little, lots of sideways movement, and then volume and volatility, but not a lot of direction. So it's very hit and miss at the moment. Big order just coming on the S&P and the NASDAQ there. Dow has just made new highs on the session. So we're off. Buyers stepping in at the propulsion gap. So market structure looking like a long. Didn't really get a pullback on that. It's more of a tiny little flag. But see if we can get them to buy out this level. If we can, got half of a chance of resurrecting this afternoon. But we need the Dow to push a decent amount today, and I think it's going to struggle at this level. We've got a weekly and monthly high coming up where you're going to find a lot of sell volume. So I think it's going to struggle to get through that level, which is going to hold all the indices back, I think. So be a tricky one. Just hit TP on pound US dollar. Good man. Oh yeah, we're looking at pound US dollar. So I think that hit my TP as well. Yeah, my TP, I think I had at the top of that. I got out early today. Just because I was worried about that bounce, which we got. So it would have hit my TP, but you never know where, when it bounces out of resistance and support, you never know if it's going to bounce short, go miles through it, or whether it's going to come, as in this case, pretty much straight off the level. So it's always a good idea when you get to the area you're expecting price to move at, just to take it. If you've got it, take it. Nothing worse than going, I need it to hit my TP. So if you target 50% of that propulsion gap, for example, and it does that, just take it. It's getting close, take it. It's money. Okay, oil's coming out of the first level there. So we're getting a little bit of a bounce starting there. So they are buying up at the moment, but this might just be, a pullback continuation. So we'll see where we go. Need it kind of to break back and give us a reversal alert there. More sellers coming in. So Dow's looking like a reversal. Tricky today. Okay, we're still holding this propulsion gap at the moment, which is good. No walking away from screen today, no. One of those days where you have to babysit it, unfortunately. You get days where you're done in 10 minutes, you get days when you're done in half an hour, and you get days where you've got to sit here and babysit it all afternoon. This is one of them. this is struggling to go long at the moment. Every move we're making to the upside is just stalling out. So don't need much out of it. Quarter of an ADR, more movement to the upside, and I think I'll just probably close this all out and take a loss today. But it'll be a small loss, 0.5% or something like that. But I need another quarter of an ADR upside on the Dow just to get up to that target, basically. So if we can get up ADR 413, so if I get another 100, not even that, to be honest, another 62 points. So if we can retest yesterday's high, that weekly, monthly level, which is what we've basically done twice now and bounced at. So if we take a run up at this level and we break through that level, we've got a good chance of really getting a run on today. But the other indices seem very, very heavy. So, but that gets me out of the whole day with the break even. So we'll see. We're stuck though, so it'll be a case of watching this for half an hour or so. Not exactly the most enthralling television you're ever going to see, is it? I need some games to play, don't I? We should have some games where when we're sitting here watching this boring market, do something else. Noughts and crosses? We could play high stakes flip a coin, couldn't we? Pick an instrument, pick a time frame, long or short. That's always good fun. Fall Guys? What's that? I don't even know what that is. Fall Guys. Is that the game with the ragdoll effect type thing? Finally got a copy of ICT. Gave me a headache. Why I didn't trade last night. Yes, it will give you a headache. I think I know what Fall Guys is. Yeah. Trouble is, I'm then turning it half into a trading channel and half into a gaming channel, aren't I? We can have fear mode. Blimey. Right, propulsion gaps held on the NASDAQ. So buyers are staying in control for the time being. We're just coming up to retest high of day. So, I mean, if you look at the last 15 minutes on the Dow, there's absolutely no clues as to direction there, is there? But you can hear, obviously, we've just had some sustained selling coming in, and sellers are not able to get through that level. So fingers crossed now we get a little bit of a buy run and we can get a positive move. I need to keep reminding myself of where we are. This is the trouble. Look, we can't. It's going to take a hell of a move to pop that level. When we do pop that level, I think we're going to get a rally today if we get through it. But just not enough momentum to go long today. Let's play Russian roulette with 6 in the chamber. That's not fair. I'll tell you what, I'll play Russian roulette with 6 in the chamber if I can use an Uzi. Minimum 30 clip. Got to put the odds in your favour somehow, haven't you? Mind you, with an Uzi, it's fed from a clip, isn't it? So you need a revolver. Those buyers didn't get anywhere. Come on, just do something, one or the other. I'm not going first, no. If you want, whoever said they want to play Russian roulette, they have to go first. So, Emperor, you're first. XD Maddie. I've been trading for a day and I'm still learning. You've been trading for a day and you're still learning. Sorry, I hate to break it to you, but you've got probably another 2 to 5 years ahead of you before you actually get anywhere. So any tips? Yes, start on go. Start. I don't know where to start, to be honest. Start on babypips.com. Learn the basics. First day yesterday. Yeah, babypips.com. Go and learn the basics of everything. Then come back to my website, forget everything you've just learned, and then do what I do, basically. Okay, NASDAQ's running the highs. Hitting an order here. So if we can pop that high on the NAS, we'll get a little bit of a flush out the highs. That should give the Dow a bit of momentum as well. S&P is trying as well. So just watch this. We should get that pop. If we can get through that level. If this Dow doesn't break long, I'm glad to start the roulette. It's only one day. You can't win them all. The Dow's really not looking like it wants to go long at all. Look at the wicks on this thing. Just a total mess. Literally for 20 minutes, we ain't gone anywhere. Really stuck. NASDAQ's rejecting the highs at the moment. That's the end of that candle. Here we go. Taking a run up. If we get a pop. There we go. Bit of a pop. We're off. Okay, NASDAQ's rallying. Dow's rallying. S&P's rallying. You can hear the buyers coming in. So Dow attempting to run the highs. S&P coming up to that weekly level. So this is the crux of the S&P. NASDAQ's got some room to go, but S&P is the first one that's going to hit the brick wall. And the Dow, everybody's got basically resistance ahead, so it's going to be tricky. But we have got the buyers on board, so fingers crossed. If they can sustain a rally, we might actually get somewhere. I need the Dow to move. Dow's not moving. It's just utterly stuck. In a trade right now on Euro US dollar. Good, man. Well done. It's your first day. I'm sorry I can't get too excited. I know what's ahead of you. If you want to learn anything, go to this on the website. Go to the website. Click on the position trading handbook at the top and watch all that content. There's, this tells you what to watch, what order, all of that. Or go to babypips.com and start there. But I have to warn you, everything you learn at babypips.com is not going to make you profitable. But you need to know it because you need to get it wrong to get it right. S&P testing highs. Comes another batch of orders. trying to get through that high. There we go, we're through. So we're running straight into resistance. So we need to see if these limit orders are going to hold the market back today. The Dow running on highs as well. There we go. Okay, so S&P running straight into resistance. So this is our third knock on the door. We get through this time, we've got a really good chance of getting a run on today. And obviously the run will be up to the monthly highs. So we need to hope there's not too many sellers hanging around today. Come on, Dow. Okay, Dow's out the highs. Right, we've got a momentum break on. So S&P's broken through resistance. NASDAQ's obviously through already. So we've got a good chance of a run today. So just going to leave those targets in place. This gets me a flat exit today, which, to be honest, will be a result because this market is struggling like crazy at the moment to make any headway. So we'll see where we go. But I think that's probably, if I can get out of a scratch today, it'd be a result. It's an off year, elections in the US. Is it? I don't know. I don't follow the US elections. I do follow what's going on with Donald Trump, though, because I find it amusing. I find it quite comical that you can put somebody in charge of a country from prison. But each to their own in politics. Okay, we're at the highs. Let's see if we can hold that high on the S&P. If we can hold that high on the S&P and just get a nice pullback and continuation, I think we'll get a run today, which would be nice. So S&P, here we go, some more buyers coming in. S&P upside, we're just going to fill this propulsion gap. So S&P upside is going to be the monthly high. So we've got that week, that month, this whole area here. You've got roughly 18 points or so. So just over a quarter of an ADR movement to the upside before you're going to start to hit a brick wall. NASDAQ, you're looking at sort of similar. Quarter of an ADR, 60 points on the NASDAQ. You're going to hit the same thing. So it's a quarter of an ADR to the upside on the S&P and the NASDAQ. The Dow, we're running into trouble right now. So if we can get that continuation, we've got a good chance, I think, today. Just don't like this. Everything's hitting levels at the wrong time. Everything's hitting levels at different times, which is difficult to find confluence. Oil's dropping again. I'm going to regret that oil trade. Okay, Dow, monthly high. Straight into it. Let's see if we can get through that level. A lot of buyers. A lot of buyers. There we go. It's down through. Come on, a little bit more. It's a nice rally, but kind of need a little bit more than that at the Dow. Here we go. Okay, approaching yesterday's high. Again, we're going to hit limits at this level. So the order's sitting here, ready to go short. Just watching for absorption at this point. So if we keep hitting this level and not getting through it, it indicates there's a large volume of cells sitting there which are getting added back in over and over and over again as they want to drive it short from yesterday's high. But the fact that we're out the highs on these two, I think bodes well for them getting run over today, which will be nice, but we'll see. A little bit of a struggle at the highs. Come on, see that Dow pop. That'll give the other indices a little bit of a rally as well if the Dow pushes. Go through the high. Struggling. In trouble. Flipped coin. Fell in a hole on the floor. Ah, dear. You flipped the coin the wrong way, Franco. You needed to flip it the other way. Okay, we just got a nice pop through the Dow, but that's exhausted that. Look, we might be getting a bit of a rejection here. Okay. Stuck at the highs, aren't we, on the Dow? Starting to run out of those buyers. Okay. Closing the Dow. Okay, I'm out the Dow. So basically locked in 2%. Hedge is running at 2.2. So at the moment, I'm looking at a 0.2% loss on the day. Why did that not close that one? There we go. Okay, some more buyers coming in now. Just wary of that move there. Just heard the sellers coming in at that point. It's just this. We've had now a 30-minute sustained rally. I'm looking for a pullback on this at some point soon. I'm just looking for clues basically for when that's coming. Okay, out the Dow. So at the moment, got a hedge locked in. So at the minute, it's looking like it's going to be a flat day. But going to watch the S&P and the NASDAQ and just watch for price action basically on these two. As you can see, this is a fairly decent 4-hour sustained rally now on the S&P. We're out of those highs. We've had no pullback on this thing now for over a week. We've literally just gone sideways and we're running into this resistance. So what I'm going to do is watch price action up at here. So if we can get to that level, I'll then look for a bounce out of there. So very much the same as I did on the DAX this morning. Be watching this area for any signs of sellers coming in. So when we get up to these highs, as soon as I see some price action coming in short, get out the long positions and then look to exit the shorts on a pullback. If that fails, lock another hedge in, because if they break through this level, we've got a chance of doing a big, strong rally today. So watching that area, we've still got plenty of room to go up to there. There's a quarter of an ADR to the highs there. And the NASDAQ, we're looking at still roughly quarter of an ADR. So same with that, looking for that level, looking for signs of sellers coming through. As soon as we see those sellers coming through, exit the long positions and then look to get out on any kind of pullback. So goal basically today is to try and get that hedge lower than 2%. That's a break-even day. So that's what I'm going to do today. Just monitor these for the rest of the afternoon. If you want to do this automated, obviously, with the EA, you can do what I'm doing here, which is, so the EA is going to handle this for me. So as soon as I hit that level, yeah, it's going to take off the longs and it's going to automatically go into aggressive mode and reshort as soon as the sellers enter. And then it's going to try and get me out with a loss recovery target on those two. So same as the DAX this morning, basically. A little bit simpler than the DAX this morning, because the DAX this morning was an absolute mess, wasn't it? So this is much easier than the DAX trade this morning, because the DAX this morning was literally, I got out of the longs there and we got out of the shorts there. So this was just a hideous mess. We had no levels to go to this morning, so it's pretty much 50% luck this morning. Whereas with obviously the US indices, we've got a definite limit order level target today. So that's the plan. So we're not far away from them. So I'm going to let these run. Unlikely we're going to get there in one run because we've done 30 minutes, 35 minutes straight up. We're going to need to flag. So watching for another leg. It's probably going to take at least another leg, I would imagine, to get there. If it does fly straight up there, even better. The more exhausted it gets up there, the more likely it's going to come down faster. So that does us very nicely. So we'll see where we go. But that's the plan. Waller is speaking at the moment. Prices won't go back to pre-pandemic levels. What's that mean? Prices of what? It's a bit of a broad statement, isn't it? Prices of everything, we'll never go back to pre-pandemic levels. If you say so. I'm still not convinced this S&P is in a bear market. Yeah, pre-pandemic levels, we haven't even tested yet. Don't know. I'm not convinced, Mr. Waller. We'll see. Sell orders starting to come in. So this is the start of the pullback potentially. Now, Dow starting to pull back. Watch this high for a new leg. So this propulsion gap basically is where I would expect if we're going to continue to get some buyers adding in. And then obviously if we get that second leg up, have a nice exit on the hedges. So there you go. That's my plan for this afternoon. Watch this. I'm not going to sit here and do this in here because we'll be sitting here all afternoon potentially, but we will see where we get to. So far, all closed semi-east, $368 day. Semi-east? That's an autocorrect, I think, isn't it, Franco? Right, so I'll leave it there. I'll post in the Telegram group what happens with these. I keep saying that, and then I keep forgetting. But you know what the plan is. So that's my plan. So we'll see how we get on with these this afternoon. But at the moment, kind of worst case scenario is kind of a 0.2 loss, which at the end of the day is pretty much a break even, which I can live with. So if I can get, if these hedges basically just go like that for the rest of the day, we don't really get anywhere, it's not the end of the world, is it? So, right, I'll be back tomorrow morning. I've got a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning at some point between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So if you join me for the live rooms in the morning for the Frankfurt session, I'm still planning on doing the live room, but I'm going to have to cut it for a phone call. So it might be a bit disrupted tomorrow morning, but we'll see what time I get the phone call. But I'll be back tomorrow afternoon for the US session as normal, 2:20, and obviously we'll trade the US indices again tomorrow afternoon. Overnight news, you need to worry about inflation expectations for the New Zealand dollar tomorrow morning. That's really hit and miss, doesn't tend to do a lot most of the time. But if they give an inflation forecast very much above expectation, we might well get a rally on the New Zealand, as they will probably put their interest rates up. But they're going to struggle at 5.5 to put interest rates up, especially as unemployment's going up. So I don't think that's going to do a lot tomorrow. If that comes out with a very big figure, the market's going to look at it and go, you can't really do much about that, sorry. Because if you do that, your unemployment's going to go through the roof. But it's down to the New Zealand government, obviously, or the bank to decide. Other than that, we've got Bailey speaking tomorrow morning. So we've got potential pound volatility. And then we've got Powell tomorrow afternoon, 15 minutes pre-market. Cheers, Powell. Way to put a big injection into the market just before it opens. That's not going to be good, is it? So yeah, so nothing really to worry about overnight. But bear in mind, Waller is speaking 3 o'clock. Why is he just only coming through now? He's obviously started talking late, hasn't he? So we've got Waller talking, so just get ready for some volatility potentially. All right, so have a good afternoon. Hopefully, if you're in these hedges, we can get these out this afternoon. Not far to go. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow morning, back tomorrow afternoon, and we'll see how we got on. Have a good afternoon.